All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into some source material that makes a pretty radical claim. It asks, what if the secret to wealth isn't really about what's in your bank account, but what's going on in your mind? Yeah, we're going to go on a journey into these universal laws that, according to this text, have been used for centuries to generate serious abundance. You know, the material kicks off with a question that I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. It really challenges all the usual advice we hear. Work harder, save more. And it suggests that there's a huge piece of the puzzle that we're just completely missing. And it gets right to the point. The claim here is that the big difference maker isn't just luck or even pure grit. Nope, it points to a specific, predictable set of laws of the mind, that apparently anyone can learn to use. So who was in on this secret? Well, according to the source, we're talking about some of history's heaviest hitters, people like industrial titan Andrew Carnegie, a visionary like Nikola Tesla. It even suggests this knowledge was a closely guarded secret inside groups like the Freemasons. So let's start by digging into the problem that this secret is actually supposed to solve. Okay, so before we get to the solution, the text argues that we've really got to understand the problem first. And that problem, it says, is all about the default setting of the untrained human mind. The source calls this our reactive state. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's when our thoughts, our feelings, our actions are all just dictated by what's happening to us. We react to the news, to our bills, to what other people think. And this constant state of reaction, the text argues, is actually the biggest thing standing in our way. And this really lays out the two paths we can take. Are we going to operate from that reactive mindset, just letting whatever happens on the outside control how we feel on the inside? Or are we going to use a creative mindset, where we decide our inner state first and let that shape our world? It's like the difference between being a thermometer that just reflects the temperature of the room versus being the thermostat that actually sets the temperature. Huge difference. So how does this whole shift from reactive to creative actually work? Well, the source material centers everything around one core idea, the law of vibration. Okay, so here's the big idea. Every single thought, every feeling you have, it's not just some private thing happening in your head. According to this law, it's a signal. It's a frequency that you are constantly broadcasting out to the universe. And just like radio, that frequency can only pick up what's on the same wavelength. So your reality, in essence, becomes a direct match to your dominant inner vibe. The tuning fork is the perfect way to think about this. I love this analogy. If you strike a tuning fork for the note C, only other things tuned to C are going to vibrate along with it. The universe, from this point of view, doesn't really care about what you want or what you wish for. It only responds to what you are, to the vibrational frequency you're holding consistently. And just to show this isn't some totally out there idea, the text points to the bedrock of modern physics. I mean, Einstein's famous insight reminds us that on the most fundamental level, everything, from our bodies to the money we're trying to attract, is all just energy, vibrating at different speeds. Okay, so if our mind is the tool that creates our reality, what's actually in the toolbox? Well, the text lays out a specific set of mental faculties that it claims we can all learn to master, which gives us conscious control over this whole creative process. And here they are: will, reason, imagination, memory, intuition, and perception. Now, the source argues that most of us just let these faculties run on autopilot. But when we learn to take the wheel and control them consciously, well, that's when they become the levers we can pull to actually shape our reality. Then, the text tries to connect these pretty abstract ideas to some huge real-world achievements. Let's take a look at a couple of the examples it gives. First up, Wernher von Braun, the guy who was the chief architect of the Apollo space program. When somebody asked him what it would really take to put a man on the moon, his answer wasn't about the rockets or the budget. He just said, the will to do it. The text defines this will as the faculty of pure focus, the ability to hold one single idea in your mind and shut out all the noise and all the distractions. And how about Thomas Edison? The source points to his thousands of so-called failures, but says they were actually powered by an incredible faculty of belief. It was this unwavering conviction that what he was trying to do was not just possible, but inevitable. That belief turned what looked like failure to everyone else into just more information on the path to success. And then you've got John D. Rockefeller. He supposedly used his imagination like a literal workshop in his mind. I mean, he didn't just have some vague dream of being successful. The story goes that he built his entire oil empire in his mind first. He saw the supply chains, the refineries, every little detail, long before any of it was real. So, how do all these tools work together? The source lays out this four-step creative process. It all starts with a conscious idea, a really clear, specific goal. Then, step 2, you have to add emotion to it, to actually feel what it's like to have it already. That feeling impresses the idea onto your subconscious mind, which, according to this text, can't tell the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. So it accepts it as reality and then gets to work to make it happen on the outside. And this brings us to the final, and let's be honest, probably the most important part of this whole puzzle. How do you deliberately rewrite your inner programming so this whole creative process actually works for you instead of against you? The source calls this subconscious blueprint your paradigm. Think of it like an iceberg. Our conscious thoughts are just that little tip you can see. It's the massive hidden collection of habits and beliefs underneath the surface that's really steering the ship. And the crucial point here is this. If you want to change where you're going, you have to change the paradigm. And this change isn't something you just hope for. It's achieved through disciplined, daily practices. The source really emphasizes things like daily visualization, repeating your new beliefs over and over, and really working to feel gratitude for what you want, as if you already have it. It's all about aligning your vibration. And to show this isn't just theory, the text points to modern examples like Bob Proctor. His story is basically presented as a case study in changing your paradigm. Someone who reportedly went from being in massive debt to having incredible global success, all by consciously applying these principles day in and day out. This quote from the mystic Neville Goddard really wraps up the core message of this material perfectly. The ultimate takeaway is that the only limits that truly exist are the ones inside us, a lack of focused attention, and a failure to really use the incredible power of our imagination. So after going through all this material, we're really left with one big final question. If it's true that our outer world is just a mirror of our inner world, then maybe the most important question we can ever ask ourselves is this. Right now, what story is your mind telling? And is it the story you actually want to live?